What's up, Boxing One World? Thanks for joining us for another episode. Disappointing one today. We fully hope to come on here today and celebrate a victory over the Yankees. Unfortunately, not the case. We're coming on after a 6-2 loss. Playoff hopes are still there, while very slim chances. They need to run the table, but we'll get into it. Before we do that, I just want to play a clip for us. With all this playoff talk, I'm just going to play it.
What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
That's how I'm feeling right now. Okay, so it started off iffy. A home run from Aaron Judge. And then we had, it looked like the Jays were in a good position. They got it to 2-1. And then what was it? Was it the sixth inning? 3 home runs in 4 batters? Guys, what are we looking at here?
It was the perfect setup. I apologize. I have to get some lighting going here. It was the perfect setup. And we had with the front runner for the Cy Young starting this game, and he looked good. He is a little homer prone, as we know, and the Yankees have the tendency to hit home runs, so they got to him with some bad pitches. But another fact. That's going to be debated. Should they have taken Ray? Should they have lifted him? Should they have taken him out? All that. I think he had the right to finish the inning. They would have still been down 3-2 had he gotten out of it. I don't think anybody could have seen that coming. 3 home runs and anything like that. And it happened so quickly too. So I don't think taking him out or leaving him in wasn't a problem. Sometimes it's going to happen. He's your top guy. But they didn't hit 2 out of the 3 games, and they haven't really hit that well the past week. So we can talk all we want, but in their 2 losses, they scored 4 runs total here. This is a team that needs to hit and bash the ball in order to be successful, right? They have a good rotation. The bullpen's been better, but that's not a strength of the team. They're built on their offense. Now, the glass half full side of me says they still are. They're 1 game out going into a series against the team with the 2nd worst record in the league while they're at home. It's not over. And yeah, Boston just lost 2 out of 3 against them, and now Boston goes on to Seattle. Seattle will face. Goes on to Washington. Play Washington. Seattle plays. What's their name? LA. So it's not the first wild card, or it's long shot. They got to win out, and the Yankees have to get swept. So that's not going to happen. But they could still get the 2nd wild. It's still possible. That's just how crazy this thing is. They're only a game out.
Yeah, but Boston has to get swept, or they have to lose 2 out of 3 for you to force a game for 163.
Yeah.
Boston wins first 2, it's over.
Even if the Jays sweep.
So if they sweep, they're at 91. Boston sweep, they're at 92. So if Boston lose 1 game, then you are forcing, and you're sweeping, then you're forcing game 163, provided whatever happens with Seattle. And if Boston, they got to lose 1. Well, they got to lose the series 2 out of 3. Sorry, for Jays to make the playoffs, provided they sweep.
Don't worry. Game 163. Let's be positive here.
But it still comes down to what I said, and I feel like I jinxed it because I said last game, what if the bats struggle? I said it on the last episode, the bats have gone quiet. So if they don't hit, it won't really matter. I mean, yeah, today, like the implosion of Ray in the sixth kind of led to this. But I mean, the fact still stands that they still didn't hit enough for us to do anything.
No, they didn't hit at all. I mean, and the thing that innings unravel so quickly. It's not as if he lost the strike zone and you can say why is Charlie keeping him in there. I mean, he was pitching well, threw a middle pitch to Aaron Judge. You know where that's going to end up. Okay, that's fine. That happens. And then suddenly, boom, boom, 2 home runs, and it's like a matter of like a minute and 30 seconds, you were down 3. So um, it's hard. But the bats had I think Teoscar had a pretty ordinary game today. Grichuk, I think there was one pitch in one of the at bats, the first pitch, I think it was an off speed pitch he faced, and I think he fouled it back. So I mean, he kind of missed that. So yeah, offense went cold.
Let's go back to what you said at the beginning of your comment about Charlie and Pramit. You mentioned before we went on air that Charlie was trending on Twitter, and probably because he didn't pull Ray. Should he have, or are you of the mindset that you go with your top guy and you let him? Ray has had kind of a history of the third time through the order struggling a little bit, but is this one of those situations where you say just let him pitch? He's your horse. Let him go.
Yeah. Everybody struggles is not as good as the third time through the order as anybody.
Yeah.
So that can apply to anybody. And I mean, Charlie's criticized for not letting starters go deeper, and now he actually does it. I mean, the guy's going to win the Cy Young. More than likely, he's going to win the AL Cy Young. I mean, if you don't let that guy go, then who do you let go? So I didn't have a problem with it. I wasn't thinking and again, it happened so quickly. So what? Would Trevor Richards have been ready on time? So it happened so fast. Like, I'm not even sure if they were thinking, because he was pretty dominant throughout. So that is a question for Charlie. I mean, would he have even been ready to go anyways? But yeah, he's your ace, right? I mean, anybody else, yes, but he's your top guy.
And he wasn't even looking that bad in that Judge at bat. Like, I think he hit a couple of spots too. Like, I think it was high in the zone, a little bit high, but I know Pete Walker was freaking out because they were like, they were letter high. They were in the zone. He didn't get the call. And then I think he tried to throw the same pitch again, hit the same spot, but Judge was just all over it.
Yeah, I think it just caught a little too much of the middle of the plate. And again, how would you pull someone? It happened so fast. Like, if let's say he had walked a couple of guys and he had suddenly lost the strike zone, and then you can see he's overthrown. Like, none of that happened. Judge came up, 1 at bat, 2-2. The only argument I don't even think it's a reasonable argument after maybe the Stanton walk. But do you pull a guy like that in that instance? I don't know. I don't think so.
Mm.
And they even said it in the broadcast. If you pull him, and then Richards is the one that gives up the home runs, like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If you're Charlie, like, you're gonna get shit on either way.
Richards gave up the home run 2 days ago on a pitch that was like way outside the zone. I mean, the guy's gonna win the Cy Young, and like, you can't criticize Charlie for pulling guys too early, and I have done that at times, as you guys know. And then he lets an ace in a big game go a little longer. I think that was the right move. Sometimes you make the right move and it doesn't work out. I mean, anybody can hit a home run at any time off of anyone.
So I want to ask you. No, go ahead.
No, it's for me. It's the offense. That's why we lost.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, even if we had only given up two of the 3 home runs, we're still no better off, because we, like, the number of times that I've seen over the past couple of weeks, a guy, and like even early in the inning, no outs, 1 out, stranded at second, and we can't move him. Like, it's frustrating. Like, And I'm sure, like, you know, the amount of messages that we were sending throughout the games over the past couple of weeks. I know you guys were feeling that frustration too, and it's just that like dread of like, oh my god, like, can we not score a run?
Yeah, especially because they like a few weeks ago, the first 2 weeks of the month, they were pummeling teams offensively, and you knew they were going to come back down to earth because that level of hitting isn't sustainable. But I mean, since they went on their last road trip against the Rays and then Minnesota, they haven't hit at the same level as they had been. Springer went through a slump, but then when he got out of it, then Vlad and Bo were in a slump, and then Bo got out of it. But Gurriel comes back and he's not hitting, and Teo didn't get a hit in this series. So they're a team that needs offense. I mean, they're a good rotation, and they, I think, performed well above what they had been expected to do, but they need to hit. And that's it. This team is broke to hit.
And I think when we look back at it, if they don't make the playoffs, we can look back at the games against the Twins, and those are probably the ones where, you know, you hope you had gotten a little bit more out of the series.
There's a lot of games. There's a lot of time. Like, there's a lot of series we can look back
Oh,
on.
I just mean recently.
Yeah, recently, yeah. But yeah, I mean, if they don't get beyond game 162, there's a lot of games. I mean, there were a lot of games early where the pen wasn't good enough and they blew it. There were some games where they were pretty bad defensively the first half of the year as well. So just a few outs here and there. There was that game against Detroit on the very last routine ground ball to second, and for some reason Semien threw the ball away. Detroit tied the game and won in. There are a lot of those moments this year where you're just like, what the fuck?
And just remember, we were regularly running Dolis out there.
Oh man, I forgot about that. Yeah, yeah. There were games where you're just like banging. You're like, how the fuck are they losing these games?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. So
it still counts as a successful season. I mean, if they win 90 games, it's only the 7th time in franchise history they'll end up with 90 wins. So, you know, I mean, it's not as if, and that would still be one game more than the 2016 playoff team. So, I mean, also can't lose the fact that, you know, lose sight of the fact that this is a crazy division. And I mean, you have 4 teams winning 90 games. It's just incredible. So Atlanta is going to make the playoffs with a lot less wins, mid 80s, I think, right? So, yeah, but one thing that just occurred to me in the bottom of the 9th, if you've got Valera pinch hitting for Grichuk, you can't have him on the roster next year. If you even trust it, like, you know, I mean, you're using Valera to pinch hit for Grichuk. So, like, what's the value there?
Yeah,
that's a good question.
That is a very good question.
I was kind of thinking about that. I'm like, isn't Grichuk? He's right-handed and he can square up hard fastballs, again, from left-handed pitchers. So that's a good question, man.
Grichuk is supposedly your everyday player. Valera isn't, and he's not even a bench like a bopper who sits on the bench who comes in to hit a home run. Like, he's not like a Matt Stairs kind of a player, right? He's just a utility player. So if you're using him to pinch hit for Grichuk, what does that tell you?
Was that a mistake though?
No, I mean,
like, would you have just let Grichuk go?
No, he's awful. So, I mean,
what do you? He's making what? He has 2 more years left on his deal.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think he has 2 years, $10 million a year, and for a 1 to 2 win player, that's yeah.
But he's not a 1 to 2 win player. His WAR is 0.6 this year.
But when they signed him, that's what he was.
No, he has not. This is his best year in the last 3 years. Okay, remove the last year because it's only 60 games. He played 55. In the last 2019 and 21, he's combined for 1.1 WAR in almost 290 games, more than 290 games. That's the definition of a replacement player.
Yeah, okay, he was 0.5 in 19. Okay, I thought he was better than that. So he was coming off the 2.1 WAR season in 18, and they gave him the extension right at the very beginning of the first week of the season in 19.
Yeah.
Before that, he was a 1.5. Before that, he was a 2.2. Before that, he was a 3. So $10 million a year for a 2-win player, 1.5 to 2-win player is reasonable. And he hasn't even been that. And he hasn't played a lot. Now, here's a good point. Now, here's an interesting point that I'm just seeing here from Ben Nicholson Smith. Maybe he says, yeah, they have maybe gone out, Walker or Kirk, to buy some time. Yes, but could Ray have also located his pitches better? Yes. So he's your ace.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of ifs, right? I mean, he probably, I don't know. Yeah, if he had located better, we wouldn't be talking about this. If the offense had done a little bit more, it's just a few things here and there, right? And it's unfortunate, even game one. I mean, I thought they could have won that game too.
2 years of Grichuk left.
I mean, I don't I don't want to pin the loss on the guy. Like it's not because of him that we lost. It just occurred to me when they pinch it for him, I was like, okay, you don't trust him against a lefty in this situation, and you're bringing in a utility guy that you acquired. Did they acquire it or they picked him up?
They signed to a minor league deal and they called him up.
So mid-season, and then you use him to pinch it means there's really no trust.
Yeah.
Actually, ironic. He's actually hitting better against right-handed pitching. I mean, he's pretty bad against both, but he's a little bit better with his standard numbers against right-handed pitching. Yeah, he's actually hit a little better this month, Grichuk, because he hasn't played as much. Like he only had 52 at bats in September before coming into today, and he hit 288. So he's a fourth outfielder. Because he can play center field and cover you at center field, he's not great, but he can handle it if you need. That's what he is.
Sure.
So he shouldn't. When he's used in that sort of role, like this month, where he's become a fourth outfielder. I mean, he's the other three guys have surpassed him. That he's fine, but. I mean, yeah. I mean, if they miss just by a game, we're going to be picking this thing apart. Could they have done something with the bullpen? Will some of Charlie's moves be scrutinized more? Yes. Could the team have had gotten another left-handed bat to add some more balance in the lineup, so it makes it harder to match up against them late in the games? Yes. Everything makes sense, right? Should they have even gone into the season with Tanner Roark in the rotation? Should they have even given him that shot? Could they have just started with Manoah in the rotation in April? All these questions are going to be asked, and fair. Now, flip side is if they end up 89, 90, 91 wins in or out, they're on a good trajectory. So, I mean, it's still a good future ahead. They have money to spend. They got moves they can make. So, successful on the whole, but you can't help but wonder all these it's like a death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Does Charlie see another year if they don't make the playoffs?
Yes. I think so.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going anywhere. I think they like what he does.
If it's true, if it's the analytics department that run the game, then why would you fire him if he's just doing what you're telling him to do?
Yeah.
And honestly, I think given that they were the only team in the league not to have a home stadium last year, and this year they had 3 home stadiums, they had to deal with a lot of stuff that other teams didn't, and you never heard them complaining. And I don't want to make comparisons between the Jays and the Raptors here, but you could just tell that being displaced, the Raptors just kept talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. Now, I get that they're different leagues and there may be logistical issues and practice time and things like that.
And at least Dunedin was their own ballpark.
Yeah, like there are. You just wonder because the Raptors basically once they got COVID, they were done for. But the way that they just keep harping on how displacing Tampa set them back so far. Being displaced into Tampa set them back so far. You never heard a peep out of the Jays.
Yeah. I mean, I think when the dust settles and our emotions probably we calm down as well. I mean, you look back and it was a pretty good season for a young team.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, in hindsight, this would probably look like a very, very good season. I mean, they're closing in on it's close to a 91 team. Like, okay, you might gonna lose a couple of guys to free agency, but by all indications, if the payroll goes up, then which it may, so you can bring some new guys in as well. So
and they have depth in the system to add.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot. I mean, no, it will be viewed as a successful year, in or out, but it'll be viewed as disappointing because there were so many missed opportunities this season.
Yeah, the only thing that reminds me but I always, that centers me is you don't know if you're going to get another shot. It's not easy, right? I mean, look at San Diego Padres. We were talking about them in WhatsApp group earlier. It's like that team makes every move that you want your team to make. Sign free agents, trade away anyone and everyone, and get big name trade for big names. And it's not easy, man, and it's a tough division. So yeah, the disappointment is that you don't know how many shots do you get because you still have to deal with the Tampa Bay Rays, you still have to deal with the Red Sox and the Yankees.
Oh yeah, it's gonna every year. The next few years could be like this every year. And guess what? Baltimore isn't gonna be this bad. They're not gonna be winning. They're not gonna get beat up on winning 51 games a year now. Tampa, their system's loaded. So, but there could be a little bit of regression there. The Yankees, and the Red Sox are sort of, because they are who they are, those teams, they could just go out there and spend and fix whatever problems they have. But they also have some internal issues as well. Like I think both teams have depleted their systems pretty heavily. So trade market wise, they may, I'm not going to say rebuild or anything, but they may not necessarily swing mega hard for the fences immediately. Whereas I think the Jays are in a position to swing for the fences.
Yep, that's fair.
So I want to ask you guys one thing related to the game, and I put the clip up earlier. The only reason I want to ask you guys this is because I saw it trending on Twitter. People were a little bit pissed off about this. Springer was dancing in the dugout. I think this was was it the challenge when they were up 2-1? And then it might not even have been the challenge, but right after this, the Yankees come out and hit the 3 home runs. Did you guys find this disrespectful? Did you guys think anything of this when you saw this?
No, not me. I don't care.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like Yankees fans were really bothered by this. Or, I don't even know if they're all Yankees fans, but people on Twitter were really bothered by this. And this was one of those things where it's like, maybe it's because it's Springer and people just, because of the Astros connection, they just want to hate Springer. I didn't think, he's just having fun. the team in general just likes to have fun.
No.
They're sort of non-serious guys, but non-serious in they're just nonchalant. Doesn't mean that they're not serious about the game. Or they're disrespectful or any sort. It's just it's a fun team. It seems like the guys always have fun. Like we talk about, Vlad always has conversations regardless of what's going on, and with a batter on first, right at first. It doesn't matter what the score is. That's who these guys are. They just have fun.
No, I think I told you guys this earlier, so I do need to, for public disclosure for our viewers here. One thing I do kind of get a little bit irritated by is important games when they're being very chatty with the other team. That's the only thing, and I just think that I know the NBA is a very, very friendly league as well, but you see that in playoff games, it's much, much more like they're not as like social during the games as they are in the regular season. So that's the only little. That's just my own thing. Like my own hang up is that look in such high stakes games, like I would prefer like they don't chat up. I remember there was a game about 12 years ago. Pedro Martinez was pitching for the Phillies in his final season, and it was the Yankees Phillies in the World Series. And Alex Rodriguez came up to the plate, and the catcher Carlos Ruiz starts chatting with A-Rod. I think because they were just chatting, and Pedro literally scolded Ruiz like, "Don't talk to him now. You talk to him next week." That's what he said to him. Like he stopped him. He says like, and that's probably just that old school bit of like, in the heat of competition, you don't want to just stop and have a chat with your opponent, right? Now mid regular season game, is regular season, but April, May, June, summertime, no big deal, right? But I think that when playoffs are so late in the year, these games like I'd like to just see a little bit more. Now, if they're like screwing around in the dugout, that's fine. That's just, I mean, you're in your own dugout.
Yeah.
But I'm with you on the chattiness. I definitely I can see that. I remember Vince Carter. That was one of the things that people were always on Vince Carter about when he was with the Raptors in the early 2000s. And just that's definitely one of the things about the NBA that I don't like. It's when they are chatty in important games, like you said, like early on in the season, dog days of summer, whatever. But in a game like this, I don't like you being chatty with the opponents either.
Yeah, and even in the NBA, they tone it down in the playoffs.
Some people.
Yeah,
Vince Carter, even towards the end of his career, was still doing it. I mean, he was in a lot less important games.
Towards the end of the career, he wasn't in those games. He wasn't.
He wasn't.
Hey, you should give him credit. He didn't ring chase. He went to bad teams.
It's true.
So, but at that point, there were teams that were tanking, and he was sort of like the elder statesman of the league. So everybody wanted to chat with him. But I mean. Yeah, in a game like this, and even the play, like I was at a lot of those Raptor games during the playoff run, and they had for like Jimmy Butler and Kyle are tight as we know, and now they're together.
Yeah, really tight. Yeah,
like there are Kyle's tight with Giannis, but in those rounds they stopped it. And even like Corey Joseph and Tristan Thompson, who grew up together when the Raptors are playing the Cavs, they'd even say that we're not texting each other during the series, so they knew that despite a lot of these tight friendships, they knew to switch it off in important games.
Yeah.
And I just would have liked to have, and that's, again, I don't think that had any impact on the outcome of this series or the game whatsoever. I don't think they lost because of this. It's just my own, as a fan, you get into it, and I think that I'd like to see them maintain that sort of level of intensity.
Yeah, I mean they're not hitting the ball because they're talking to somebody when they're at first or second. But yeah, you definitely want to see that intensity that you have as a fan. Did I just pull a Buck Martinez and repeat exactly what you just said?
Yep. They could still get beyond 163. I mean 162.
Like we said last time, man, like important September games, at least we're seeing something. I'm not trying to give the participation ribbon or the consolation prize or anything, but it still is nice that we're getting some important games. Obviously, it would be a lot nicer that it be playoff games that we end up with. But I mean, considering how young this team is, and then we have some building blocks, and there's still room to grow. I like it's not ideal, but it's not the worst thing in the world that they don't make the playoffs. But I mean, as a fan, you definitely want them in there. No, it's not.
Life goes on. I mean, but like, it would be a lot of fun if they were in. I mean,
yeah, I mean, life goes on, but there were a couple moments there where I was worried about you, Pramit, because your messages sounded a little bit grim.
oh, dude, you guys were more grim. Alden's like, this is over. Like, we're done for. I'm like, there's still one game out, man, going into the last weekend of the season against the second worst team in the league. Like, should we just give up? This just you guys are the ones that are more negative. I'm the one that's actually being the perspective guy here. Yeah, they're one game out. They could have a spot tomorrow. We don't know. I mean, again, like they didn't help. I think winning this series would have been. I would have felt much better going into this weekend, but because you don't have to depend as much on other teams winning their games, you can just focus on you.
Well, the reason I am not very hopeful is because, okay, we're playing 3 games against the worst team in the league. Boston's playing 3 games against the third worst team in the National League as well. So, and Seattle's not playing.
Lost 2 out of 3 against the worst team.
Like, and Seattle's playing Shohei Ohtani.
Boston's not playing well right now, man. And again, that doesn't mean anything. I mean, Boston got swept by New York last weekend.
Momentum is your next day's pitcher. Doesn't mean anything.
All right, who do they have? That's RedSox.com. Who's starting tomorrow?
What time is their game at? I'm gonna have to watch the game. I'm gonna have to
7.
Have multiple screens up.
Eduardo Rodriguez and Rogers. Rogers at least sporting a 2.73 ERA. So
yeah, okay. I mean Boston isn't. It sucks that we never got to play Boston this month because they've sort of been on. They had a pretty good division lead at one point, and they've just been falling. But they had built such a big lead. They haven't played well in August, September.
No.
Just like a lot of it, just again these little death by you happen to match up against Boston when they're playing well. Like it's stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
When August they took 3 out of 4 against them here.
Yep.
It's just little things like that just came back to haunt them. So, I mean, yeah, I would say it's less than a 50% chance, just given the fact that there's only 3 games left and the 2 teams ahead of you are playing against shitty opponents as well. But it ain't over till it's over, as Yogi Berra said, right? So
that is true. I mean, Yankees can get swept, right? So that would be nice.
Come on, Kevin Cash, do your buddy Montoyo a solid here. Pull out everything.
So, if you're betting your next paycheck, I'm telling you, yes or no. You're betting. What are you betting on? Are they in or are they out?
I'm not betting my paycheck. Are you kidding me? I have a mortgage to pay, man. We all do.
No, I don't anymore. I'm free of that. I got away from it. I have rent to pay instead.
Same thing, Drew.
but slightly less and less risky. So, what do you? Yes or no? Are they in or are they out?
Isn't it more risky because you have the home equity backing you?
Whatever, man. I have a net. I have a net down the street. My dad lives down the street.
I'm calling it. They're gonna. When I say in, I'm not gonna say they're getting a wild card spot. I'm saying Sunday isn't gonna be the last game.
Okay.
I think they're
going to. I'll go with Pramit. I like to be optimistic, so I'll go with Pramit on this.
No, this is not good. So I thought you guys were gonna say out. I'm going into. I'm saying they're gonna make it into the playoffs.
They're playing game 163. Oh, so you're saying they're gonna play?
I'm saying in the playoffs.
You're saying they're gonna play next Wednesday. Next Wednesday night is the AL wild card game. So you said they're gonna play next.
They're in it.
Okay.
They're in it. But you know what? There were a lot of moments throughout these past couple series where I'm just looking at it and I'm like, it just doesn't seem like things are going like it's not meant to be.
Dude, they just gotta grind and get to
hope. It's the hope that kills you.
It's the hope that kills you. It is.
They had their chances and they just didn't take advantage of things. And obviously, like, they were playing out of their minds for the first 2 weeks of the month, so you knew there was going to be some regression. Like, honestly, like
You would have expected regression to the mean, not regression all the way down to wherever they are at now.
Yeah, it was like
what
this.
the Cardinals
and
are doing is ridiculous, but
Yeah.
that's just stupid. But that's hard to pull off when you're playing AL East opponents. You're not going to do that. I'm sorry. Like, I mean, the Yankees won 13 in a row, but then you saw what happened after that. For 2 weeks, they were garbage. So, like, this division is fucking insane. I think the Jays win the division, and except maybe the NL West, they win any other division.
I think there were a few years where Jays were good for an 11-win streak every year. There was like 3 or 4 year time period, right?
In 2015, they had 2 11-game streaks, but that year they were the powerhouse. So the Yankees were getting older; they weren't that good. The Red Sox were having a bad year. Tampa had just started their rebuild. They trended down for a few years and started their rebuild again. So that 2015 and 16, they had that window, and they went for it in those 2 years.
Yep.
But when the AL East is firing on all cylinders, if you're playing AL East opponents consistently, you're not gonna win like that many games in a row. You could pull that shit off if you're like playing teams outside of your division. It's great. And the Jays have one of the better records in the league against 500 plus teams. It's not like they're, and that's what's crazy. Every big picture stat has them going in, but just the little finer details have screwed them, right?
Like that run differential is still insane. And like what plus 168, you look at Seattle minus 48. And like, man, I don't know. It's just frustrating. It's just really frustrating.
It's the division, but I don't want to sound like I'm complaining about the division. Because I think that if you can win here, it means so much more. And I would rather beat good, like on everybody. I remember in the years when the Raptors kept matching up against LeBron in round 2 because of seedings instead of round 3. The goal, they could have matched up better. And I'd always be like, well, you got to beat these guys if you're going to win a title. Like, what difference does it make if it's the second or if you face them in the third round and get killed? You're going to think that, it's fool's gold. You're going to think that you're better than you are just because of matchups. Like, if you get killed by him in the second round, it's exciting to go deeper, obviously. But it is the gap is what it is, right? So you need to, sometimes you just need to know. Now, frustrating because we could have probably had a couple, but once you get in, you never know. Like in baseball, the playoffs are very different. So, but it means more. I mean, they won 89 games when they won the wild card in 2016. And that was probably would have been a mid-90 win team in another division.
Yeah. I mean, that's always been the frustrating thing. It's always been the division, the unbalanced schedule. Like it sucks, but you're right. It does definitely mean a lot more if we could do it in this division.
Yep. I don't have a problem with unbalanced schedule, but I've told you guys, I think that it should just be the top 5 teams. Like, if you win your division, you can go, but the top 5 teams, like the wild card game, should be the 2 teams with the worst record. If we talked about the LA Dodgers are going to win over 100 games and have to play in the wild card game.
Well, not only they're going to play a wild card, they're going to play the NLDS against San Francisco. So 200 win teams versus 195 win and an 85 win team. It just doesn't make any sense in playoffs.
That's stupid.
So one out of San Francisco and Dodgers are going to get eliminated first round.
Yeah. Dodgers may not even get there. Like the things that Cardinals are playing out of their minds.
Yep.
So they could just run into like a really hot Cardinals team and lose.
It's just, oh boy, this is interesting.
Actually, the National League playoffs are now set. Almost set. There's still a chance the Dodgers could catch San Francisco for the division. But
all the teams, yeah, I'm looking at it now.
you
It's
know
all
who the
it's all
teams
pretty
are.
much set.
You know who the teams are. So, like, if San Fran got swept and the Dodgers, like, win 2 out of 3 or 3, like, they sweep, there's a chance, right? But it looks like the NL is pretty much set, and the AL still remains chaotic. Like, we could be in a 3-way tie tomorrow.
Yeah, that's
Like,
true.
we don't know. Like, yeah, I don't know, like, but I'm calling it.
I mean,
we're going to play at 163.
I mean, at least we're not the Marlins, 23.5 back of the wild card. So there's that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, let's see what happens. Hopefully, our next episode is us talking about the playoffs, and we're in it. It will be. But yeah. I mean, let's see where it goes. I don't want to drag this on too long. I don't want to sound like we're whining either about divisions or anything. But any last thoughts that you guys want to put out there, or?
We shouldn't whine, I'll say, because Tampa has no resources. They continuously are smart and do well, and they may have to play half their games in Montreal. So if they're not complaining, we're not complaining.
Well, true that.
Yeah, the Montreal thing makes zero sense to me. But I mean, if that's what they want to do, and
if
it gives us. I mean,
dollars, it don't make sense.
That Montreal road trip will be epic.
Are they going to build a brand new ballpark for like 41 games?
I don't know. That's the thing. What do? You can't go back to the Big O, can you?
Oh God, no! You can't.
It's
do
awful.
That
yeah, but how are you going to make your money back spending $2 billion on a ballpark, and then it's like you're playing a basketball season?
Multi-purpose.
Maybe, but still, that's a lot of change, man.
Or is the plan to
fully relocate after the lease is up? I don't know.
Yeah, unless they find a way to retrofit Stad Saputo and do like a soccer baseball split, and you can have like the, I don't know if you guys have ever seen an NYCFC game, but like they have the mound and like the diamond kind of like still on the field, and it's the worst soccer experience you've ever seen.
I have never seen, but I will check it out now.
Awful. It's awful.
So
TFC played a couple playoff games here. It was the worst.
Oh, wow.
So here's something interesting. Relief pitcher Matt Andresi has cleared outright waivers and has elected free agency. He split the season between the Red Sox and the Mariners this year. He signed with Boston over the offseason, got released in August, and then Seattle picked him up, and then they dropped him after 8 outings. So shouldn't the Jays just bring him in because he was just so he could say that he was on the 3 teams fighting for the second wild card?
Sure, why not? I mean,
Is there a chance we can sign him for the 1 game and then drop him, and then the Yankees pick him up? Is there enough time for that?
No,
he's going to guarantee himself a ring this way, at least.
All right, guys. I think that's a good spot to wrap it up. So I think hopefully if the Jays are in the playoffs next week, we'll run another show. But I think we'll probably do a Raptors show sooner or later, because now with Raptors Media Day and training camp in full swing and preseason games starting on Monday, I believe it is October 4th. Is that October 4th?
Mm-hmm.
We'll have some stuff to talk about on the basketball side. So thanks as always for joining us. Subscribe, like the video, share it, and comment. Let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, what you want to see us talk about.
Thanks.